All right, let's talk about Spanish. Have you ever felt like you know a bunch of words, but you just can't seem to string them together into a real sentence? Well, this is for you. We are about to unlock one simple secret that can open up hundreds of Spanish phrases for you, like right now.
So let me just ask you, do you want to start speaking Spanish not in a few months or a few weeks, but right now? Good, because by the end of this, you are going to have the exact tool you need to do just that. Let's dive in.
So, what's the big secret? It's not some complicated grammar rule, I promise. It's way, way simpler than that. It's regular verbs. Think of these as the ultimate cheat code for speaking Spanish. They follow a simple, predictable pattern, they're absolutely everywhere, and once you know that pattern, you can start building real sentences immediately.
We're calling this the Spanish verb key. And that's really what it is. It's the key that unlocks the door between just knowing a list of words and actually using them in a conversation. These verbs are your foundation, your building blocks for speaking for real.
Okay, so all regular verbs in Spanish fall into one of three families. We're going to start with the biggest and the most common one, verbs that end in AR. If you can master this first family, trust me, you are well on your way.
And just look at these verbs. These are not some obscure words you'll never use. This is the stuff of everyday life. Hablar, to speak. Trabajar, to work. Estudiar, to study. This is practical, powerful vocabulary you can start using today.
So here's that pattern in action, using the verb hablar, to speak. It's so easy. You just take off the R ending and you add a new one depending on who is doing the talking. For I, it's O, so yo hablo. For you, it's has, so tú hablas. You see that? The main part of the word habla, it stays exactly the same, only the ending changes.
Now let's put it in a full sentence. Let's take the verb estudiar, to study. Since we're talking about nosotros, which means we drop that R and add amos. Nosotros estudiamos en casa. Simple as that. You just made a perfect, complete sentence in Spanish. How cool is that?
All right, so you've got the hang of AR verbs. Let's tackle the other two families, verbs that end in ER and IR. And here's the great news. They follow a very similar, very predictable logic. You're already halfway there. Here are your essential ER verbs. Comer, to eat. Aprender, to learn. Beber, to drink. Again, these are incredibly useful words you'll want to have for any conversation.
And notice the pattern here for comer. It's pretty much the same idea. You drop the ER. For I, you add O, so yo como. For you, you add S, so tú comes. It's just a slightly different set of endings, but the core principle is exactly the same.
And finally, we have our third family, the IR verbs, like vivir, to live, or escribir, to write. I bet you're already guessing how this one is going to work.
Okay, here's the table for vivir. Yo vivo, tú vives, él vive. Now take a really close look at these endings because the next slide has a fantastic shortcut that's going to blow your mind.
And here is that shortcut I was talking about. Look at this. The endings for ER and IR verbs are almost exactly the same. The only difference is in the we form. It's emos versus emos. That's it. So by learning one of these patterns, you've basically learned the other one for free. It's a 2-for-1 deal.
So you have the patterns, you've got the key. Now comes the really fun part. Let's put it all together and start building some real sentences that you can actually go out and use.
You know, the beautiful thing about Spanish is that its sentence structure is usually super straightforward. It's typically just subject, then the verb, then the object. So, yo, I, compro comida, food. See? It's incredibly logical, so you don't have to worry about some complex word order when you're starting out.
And here's a pro tip that will make you sound more like a native speaker almost instantly. Because the verb ending already tells you who's doing the action, that o and como can only mean I, you often don't even need to say yo. Just saying como frutas is way more common and sounds much more natural.
All right, you're doing great. Before we finish up, let's just quickly cover a couple of simple little traps that a lot of beginners fall into. Think of these as the final things to polish so you can really master this skill.
The most important thing is to always remember this 3-step process. 1. Start with the full original verb, like trabajar. 2. You have to remove that R ending. And 3. You add the new ending that matches your subject. That is the entire process, right there.
This brings us to the biggest mistake of all.
People forget step 2. They're tempted to just add the new ending right on. But you would never, ever say yo trabajar. You have to remove the R first to get the correct form, yo trabajo.
And here it is one more time with an ER verb. It's not ella comer. No. You drop the ER, you add the correct ending for ella, which is A, and you get ella come. Once you see this trap, you'll never fall for it again.
And that's it. That is the secret. You now have the key to Spanish regular verbs. You've got the patterns, you've got the vocabulary, and you've got the sentence structure. You genuinely have everything you need to start forming sentences right now. So, I'll leave you with just one question. What's the first thing you're going to say?